Yeah, boom. Yay. So it's about my 22nd workshop or 23rd workshop. My big passion is caring for carers, so people like me, and for our future carers, because I really have a concern that it's not a profession that people are going to go into, because as carers we're not making it look so super cool to go into. So but my passion goes actually way beyond that. I actually think we can do a lot better in the world, but in New Zealand with our education system and with our health system. So if you follow me on social media, you'll see I'm a big advocate, and I'm being quite an activist around this. So today I went to Jacinda Ardern's office. She wasn't there, but I spoke to her people, and I might have been a hot mess. But they generously listened to me, and we've come up with a plan. And I feel really like enough for a lot of this. So you'll see this as we kind of go through on this workshop, that I really have, sorry. Oh my gosh, I'm right-handed, but I can't do that. Anyway, that's me and my advocacy. So just you'll see that I break every rule when it comes to PowerPoints here. My husband helps me with this, and he's like, you've put too many words on. I adore words. My most favorite word is adore. So I always struggle with dropping words. So you'll see that I really don't do well here. I also really attempt to be gender neutral, and the reason that I do that is it's only 7 weeks ago since I left bedside nursing, and I worked at a high school with young women, and a lot of them didn't identify with their gender, and I could see that with allowing them to be themselves, to feel comfortable in the space that I was creating, that they could actually relax into their body, and then be more relaxed when it came to having their periods. So as best as I can, I'm going to be gender neutral, but I'll human in that as well, and possibly get my pronouns out of place. I know we've got some young maidens here, and we've got lots of wise women, which is amazing. So I will also attempt to keep it kind of age related as well, because I'm all about no secrecy, no taboo. So a couple of things just for yourselves, just because I've run these workshops so much, is that you may find that you could be triggered by some of the things that I say. And even me saying trigger might not be a word you're familiar with. So that's just a feeling that you get when you hear some information that you haven't heard before. So this information that I'm going to share with you today is, I was only last years old when I learned it. And when I learned it, I was kind of like, I had two choices. I could have gone, what? And been really dark about it, or I could have done what I've done and gone, right, I'm going to get even and I'm going to share this information. So I want you to know that I am going to put us into what's called a red tent. I don't know if anyone's familiar with the book, The Red Tent. Please. And don't feel like, I'll send you information and all these books as well. So just chill out and just enjoy this workshop. You don't have to write anything down. So the Red Tent, please read the Red Tent. Please read the Red Tent. It is amazing. It's from biblical times. And I think if I lived in my utopia, I would live in a village where we would go to a red tent and we would be creative and we'd be nurturing and we would share sacred stories. And this is a real passion of mine. And I think this is what's really missing in our well-being, is that we're not sharing stories enough. And I think if we were sharing stories a lot more, then we wouldn't have the crisis that we currently have. So, and then the other thing is to bear in mind that I can see we're quite in the wise woman age, and we've got some maidens in the room. So we're actually transitioning into our second puberty as our children are transitioning into their first. So also, you know, we've got to give ourselves some nice bit of love and kindness as well. So there's my photo, and it's like, and I love that quote. And when you get there to where you're going, turn around and help her too. For there was a time not long ago when she was you, and you'll see that I do everything big. I do feelings big, and I do emotions big, and I just, yeah, I feel so incredibly passionate about sharing this information, but not just this information, not just menstrual cycle awareness, so much more that we just haven't been shared as human beings to get us through this crazy ride that we have. So anyway, before I become a hot mess. So why did cyclical wisdom stop? I don't know, and I wished it hadn't. And my mum came to my last workshop and she was just like, I didn't know that, and like her mum didn't know that, and her mum didn't know that, and so many of us didn't know this. So this was cyclical wisdom, where we would all bleed, and we would meet in the red tent, and we would have our crone. So that's my mum, your mums, and us, the wise woman, and then our motherhood age, and then our young maidens. And we would all, like, I don't know if I've got illusions of grandeur, but it was a cool place. And there was like tapestries, and there was colour and flowers, and we were dancing, and we were like plaiting each other's hair, and we're being super creative. So that's my red tent anyway. And one of the young women that future carers that I'm mentoring at the moment, she made me these earrings, and she made me red tent earrings, which is so cool. So why did it stop? There came a time when the balance of masculine and feminine just shifted, and the men grew more into power. And as they did, this is when the suppression of women began, and this was the wisdom sharing stopped, and it was censored. And this is when, you know, women like me and women like many of you I've seen along there, we would have been drowned or burnt at the stake, because we were like healers and carers and givers, and we were so nurturing, and that just didn't want to be anymore. However, I'm like high-fiving 5 million angels, because there really is an uprising, and I'm so excited, and we're remembering again, and so excited for our maidens who don't have to spend as long as we have without knowing this information. So some great reads. I haven't done this on my own. I've done lots of reading. If you've got young maidens, so Crystal, this is a book. This is a book you need to have for raising girls. So this is Lisa DeMoore. She's a clinical psychologist in America. She just treats teenage girls. She's got teenage girls. And her most favorite quote, and it's healed a big wound of mine, is that she treats every teenage girl like they think that they've gone crazy. And all I can remember through my teenage years was, I'm going crazy. However, now I think we all felt like that. So this is the 7 stages, and this is kind of like, so I've got, full disclosure, I've got 2 teenage girls who both menstruate, and I've read this, and this is how I read it. I just want to absorb it. And my parenting has just become conscious parenting, and we're just, I give them the space to be them, and this has given me the permission to do that. So this is just a golden book. But there's so much more. The Period Queen. Do you know this one, Kimberly?
No, I haven't read that one.
Okay, this is a great read. Lucy Peach, she's actually a folk singer in Perth, Australia, and she's super cool. She's done, like, she does a TED talk in this red jumpsuit. She sings, and this book is gold. It's so good. It's so good. And then super lucky New Zealand, we've got Lara Bryden that lives here. She's Canadian, but she lives in Christchurch. So for you who are mothers of maidens, this is a great go-to book. So when I was working in the wellness room, this was my Bible, and I could so easily balance out a young woman with just what was in this book. And it wasn't, I always had this crazy belief that balance was such an impossibility. And then when I was using the magic from this book with them, and it was really simple things, you know, movement and supplements and food, and I'm going to share all this with you, and just the difference it made for these young women. So a difference of being really discombobulated, really disconnected, really just not fully functioning in the world, to being quite the opposite, fully connected, fully functional, fully engaged. And it was super cool to watch. So then for us, Wise Woman, she's also just put out this year the Hormone Repair Manual. But again, it was kind of like, I just kept hearing about perimenopause and menopause, and I just used to think, oh. And then I read this and I was like, it's okay, these are golden door. So just trust and believe, everyone, there's a golden door at the end of that. So they're great reads. And again, I just want them to just absorb into me. So they're my books. So I haven't done this alone, despite being a nurse for 26 years and menstruating for 35 years. I had to learn. And I will share those book names with you. So for us, as young people, most of us were given the talk about how to manage our periods, and pretty much just about the presence and the absence of our periods. However, these amazing truths about our cycle, that these big, fantastic, like daily, monthly, like lifelong benefits out of having a cycle. And so I feel like we've been so duped, yeah.
Come and listen.
And we can really hack our cycle. And I love this about the cycle. You can actually, so this is an example of one of my cycles. So I've written down and I've coloured in kind of how I show up. And so I can life hack it. You know, I can go, I've been invited to, I don't know, say a wedding, and I know that's a part of my cycle where I don't show up as the best version of myself. I can actually manipulate it and do a few things so that I can. So I love that about that. And we have 4 hormonal phases. And when I say that, I really want to, like, because I've worked with so many young women and just been really super curious about these phases. You know, the books tell us these phases, and I'm hearing it, but I also think there's an opportunity for us to really tap into our phases and our cycles. So there's a real opportunity here for this. So I'll talk a bit more through that when I get closer to that bit. But oh my gosh, the planet desperately needs us to be truly empowered, fiercely aware women, or people about our bodies and our minds. And that's the sort of work that I do. I empower and advocate our carers and our future carers how to understand and celebrate our mind and body rather than push it away. So I will share more with that with you. So, and this isn't just about us as women and a bit of girl power. This is also about our boys learning about our cycles and growing up to be men who appreciate the benefits of being attuned to them. And men would also be afforded the benefits of going with the flow. So that together we can we can work together as the feminine and the masculine. So it's not been us as feminine and them being as masculine. And we do have, we have a shot of testosterone within our cycle. So we do have a bit of time where we are like that. So that's, yeah. So dear men, you are key. We can't do this without you. Join us, celebrate us, ask us questions and help us to feel safe, and trust that the benefits of supporting your partners and colleagues, sisters, mothers, friends throughout this month is also extended to you. If your potential partner mentions your cycle, see it as an invitation and embrace it. And if you're a father, support is needed now more than ever for our young people. And I think, more and more through my experience with my daughters and their friends, more and more that their safety is very compromised, and that we need to do better with that. So if we can empower them around their body, and if we can have their dads really support this, I think that can make a really big difference. So when you love your daughter for each of her 4 ways, you support her to know her whole self and to connect to her deepest heart and her greatest potential, and hold her close to her dream phase and encourage her to slow down, and build her up to do her do phase, to be brave, and in her give phase, celebrate her and help her fill her cup with self-love and confidence. Allow her plenty of space in her take phase, and don't take anything too personally. I read that, my husband's done this workshop, and that was the line that really landed with him. So if we can really, I should highlight that part actually. She needs to feel out the boundaries for herself and push against them. You are her container, and champion her power and welcome her, and show her how it feels when a man respects the life-giving qualities of her body. I think it's key. So, the menstrual cycle has actually been our 5th vital sign since 2005. So that's what the slide is telling you basically. So when I worked in the wellness room, the young woman would come in, and one of the first things that I would ask them was where are they at their cycle. And of course, because we don't have awareness, they weren't able to answer me. So it gave me a really, really big opportunity to educate them around their mind and their body, so that they could understand that. And pretty quickly, I could really do some good healing on them without sort of launching into pharmaceuticals and things like that. And I had a really cool team that I was referring them to, and it was really interesting because I was really reflective of my healthcare practice. I realized that shamefully I had an element of racism with my healthcare practice. And so when Black Lives Matter happened last year, I was really reflective of that. And I was able to see there were Pacific Island families and Māori families who are really receptive to be going to more complementary and holistic options. So that was really cool to see too, and with cool results, really amazing results. Previous to that, you would easily see, and I've had GPs on my workshops, you would easily see these young women go to the GP and quickly end up on hormonal contraception. We're not going to get too much into that, but that's kind of another topic. So we've got period poverty in New Zealand. It's not just around period products. We have got this amazing opportunity to have the products now in schools, free in schools, which is amazing. And we've got some great charities, Kimberly from the Good Fund, Dignity, Spins, so sanitary products in New Zealand schools. I think they're still going, Kimberly, they're still going?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
And some other Days for Girls, so Days for Girls, Joji, we've been there. And yeah, our girls really need us really creating a real circle around them. So it's more than just around products, and it's around having a place to change, but it's also around education. So it's around what I'm going to take you through today. And it is tricky because we are multicultural. So there is some stigma around with Pacific Island families. So it is a real tricky one. But I don't think it's impossible. I think there's some possibility there. We also have period change. Like, I know I put heaps on this slide, but basically and this really hurts me, is internationally 70% of women dread their period. And that's not okay with me. That's so not okay with me. So that means that, you know, we have 450 cycles in our lifetimes, and that works out to be around about 6.5 years. There's 6.5 years that 70% of women in the world are dreading. I'm just kind of like, I'm not cool with that. So, but what's the solution? It's period positivity, and we need all women and girls to shake off as much oppression as humanly possible. And we actually need to band together. So we need to do what we're doing now. We're in our own little red tent. And, you know, if hopefully you've been able to print off the cycle that I sent you. And what I do with my workshops is that we make cycles, and then we make a dream catcher, and those cycles go onto fridges, and the dream catchers go onto school bags, and they go into in their bedrooms, and so that we can kind of ripple effect off. So how many we've got here? 18 starfish, then hopefully we can all throw out another 18 starfish, and this can really ripple effect off. Female anatomy. So hopefully this is familiar to you. If it's not, I'm wearing it on my t-shirt. And the best way that I describe it when I'm talking to young people is I kind of talk about the uterus or the womb. And I talk to them about how womb sounds like room, and then we're usually in a room. So then when I say, hey, it's like we're in the womb, we're in the room, and they're like, yeah, we are. And so then I talk to them about what the room does is it gets super excited, and it puts up heaps of decals, and it puts up lots of dream catchers, and it puts out mattresses and pillows and duvets, because it's going to have a visitor. And so then they're all like, yay, that's cool. And then I pretty much pick up my t-shirt and I talk to them about how we've got our golden eggs in our ovaries. And then they're always golden eggs. They're not just eggs, they're golden. That's just how it is. And that they travel down the fallopian tube and they head towards the room or the womb, and in hope of getting fertilized. And of course that doesn't happen every month, and so then the room is like, well, I no longer need the decals, I no longer need the mattresses and the pillows and so forth, and so it sheds it. And so that's actually the lining of our uterus, which goes through our cervix and out through our vagina, and that's us having our monthly bleed. And they kind of all get it. They kind of get it. And so do I. A couple of fun facts, like again, illusions of grandeur. I thought my uterus just sat there beautifully like it does on that drawing. And then I couldn't quite understand every time I had a smear, and then when I had my babies, I had 11-pound babies, why they would always talk to me about having, you know, a tilted cervix. And so, and Kimberly will be able to talk to us a bit about this, is we all don't sit like that. I just never thought about it. It's just one of those things I've never thought about. And because we've got all our other organs in there, it's probably all thrown in there and kind of forgotten, because it's certainly an organ that I've never honoured up until I've started doing this work. Again, we've been a bit duped. We've been talked about the 28-day average. However, only 12% of people that menstruate have a 28-day cycle. So if you don't have a 28-day cycle, you're super normal. And yeah, and so what is average, and I think I'm about right, Kimberly, it's about 29.5 days, which is very similar to our moon cycle. So you're probably familiar with, hearing about moon caps and, our cycle in line with the moon. So in our red tent days, we would all menstruate in the new moon, and then we would all ovulate in the full moon, which kind of makes sense to me because I don't know about you, but in the full moon I've got heaps of energy and I don't sleep as well. So and that makes sense too scientifically, because when you're ovulating, your body wants to get some action and to get busy and to make some babies. So so we'd be all in the red tent in the new moon. However, there's some cool theories abound, and I love hearing when people are menstruating on the full moon and ovulating the new moon, because there's theories around you being a shamanic or a healer. So yeah, there's lots of cool stuff around the moon, which I super love as well. Oh, I want you to meet your lady hormones. I love our lady hormones. Oh my gosh, how much so dark that I didn't learn about these girls so much earlier. And one of the beautiful estrogen, she's stored in our fat cells, and I just think about all those years that I wished my lady lumps away, and I think I was washing away my beautiful estrogen. And estrogen, she just wants you to be pregnant every single freaking month, and she will be the one who makes you funny and jokey and playful and social and easy to get on with, and she wants you out meeting a mate. And so now I think about all those times that I hated on my lady lumps, and so then I was hating on my estrogen and my good times. So I just love that message to get out, that let's embrace our lady lumps, because that's where our beautiful estrogen is. And we have testosterone, so not just for men, but it's here for a good time, not a long time. And when we do have it, we can lift heavier and we can run faster. And then beautiful progesterone, and she just wants to stay pregnant every single month, regardless if you're having sex or not. She just wants to be pregnant, and she wants you to stay at home curled up on a couch and eating chocolate and not talking to anyone. And she's great at detail-orientated tasks and organizing and decluttering. And I'm really good at that. They're all my things. So when I'm kind of reflective of all those years of cycling, I'm kind of like, wow, I missed some opportunities here. Yeah, so I love our lady lumps, our lady hormones. And they do awesome things. Like I've made this such a quick slide, but it should be way, way more than this. Our whole cycle looks after our brain health and our sleep and our bones and our hearts and our vaginal and our breast and our uterine health. But I've really made this not look as big as it is, because what happens when we do take hormonal contraception, we actually don't have this full cycle, and so then we're not covering these areas of our beautiful body. So here's our cycle, linear, but we're so not linear. Oh my gosh. So we live in a circadian cycle, so day and night. So men do super well with this. Their testosterone's high in the morning and it's low in the afternoon, and then they just keep doing that. And so this picture almost don't want it in here, because we're so not linear. We're so cyclical. We're so up and down Bobby Brown. We're so ebb and flowy. And we've kind of been, society has kind of pushed us into this circadian cycle, and we think we're going crazy. But good news is that we all think we're going crazy. So that's quite cool. And so this is the inner cycles of the menstrual cycle. And again, it's not showing it, giving it any justice, but this is where we're going to start getting creative. So if you've got your cycle, isn't it beautiful? So Clara is, she's actually just had a baby, but do you know Clara Kimberly? Does anyone else? Joe, where's Joe? Joe Newman, do you know? No, okay. Oh, she's cool. Follow her. She's really cool. So if we get it, oh gosh, I've just lost me. If we get it, and so you want the top to be the new moon, okay? So that way. So Clara's name's the right way. So what I want you to do while I'm kind of talking you through these parts of the cycle, and I'm giving you a real like highbrow, real blocky kind of view of this. There's my dog, man. So doggy do. So I just want you to kind of like, this is kind of just going to give us a real indication. But I want you just to kind of bear in mind that we are all different people, and we're not super hooked into this so much. I don't know what I'm trying to say. That's cool. So let's start. So grab a color. So this is what we call so day one, which I still debate, but I always debate things. I feel that day one should be when the golden egg leaves. However, society has kind of made that day one is when we have our first day of our bleed. So it's not a spot, it's when we're actually bleeding. So if you grab a color and color in, and I'm just going to go with 5 days. I'm just going to do a real slick average. But we bleed for about 1 to 5 days, maybe 1 to 7 days. And this is where our beautiful estrogen, our testosterone, and our progesterone is actually flat. And what it's doing is it's decided that there's been no golden egg that's been fertilized. So I don't need all the decals. I don't need the dream catchers. I'm going to shed them down. And we also call this time the dream phase. Are you familiar with that, Kimberly, the dream? No, okay, that's Lucy's kind of language. There's another language as well, which I'm not going to say the words, but it's cool. It starts with F, and there's because I just know we've got some maidens here, but it kind of
truck.
Yeah, also helps kind of understand the different phases and how we cycle through them. So this is the dream phase. So when I was working in the wellness room, and this is when I got really curious about this, because I'd had lots of young women coming in, and they were needing pain relief, and they were going home, and they weren't having an opportunity to keep on learning. And so just intuitively, I had a weighted blanket, and I would tuck them up and give them a herbal tea and essential oils, and I had crystals and an eye mask and a wheat bag, and I'd tuck them up, and I'd just set my alarm for 20 minutes, and then they were going back and learning, and I was kind of like, oh wow, this is cool. Like, they're actually not going home, they're not having a pharmaceutical. This is quite cool. And then I started learning, and I was kind of like, this is actually what we should be doing. This is how we should be honoring this part of our cycle. However, because of society and because of like our mums and everything else, we were cracking on. We were just cracking on. And when you think about that, all those awesome hormones that I was telling you about are flat. No wonder we're kind of like a little bit. And this is also like think about, you know, that lining has taken a month to build up as well. So that's everything you've been through in that month is part of that story, part of those decals, part of those pillows, part of those mattresses and everything. So, and your body is actually designed to create and to produce each month. So it's kind of like your body's having a moment of grieving. It's kind of sad that it hasn't created this month. And we've just cracked on and haven't honoured that part of our cycle. So I know we've still got to kind of go to school and go to work and all that stuff, but it's about finding the 1%. So the 1% of getting under the duvet, or, you know, ditching something off your to-do list, because you know, and I'll tell you, you know, next week you've got some cool hormones in there that you'll have the energy to do it. So it's giving yourself permission, and it's about it's about speaking up and saying, actually, you know what, no, not now, thanks. And so it's just like winter. It's like we're in now, like you kind of close up a bit earlier and you're eating warmer food and drinking warmer drinks, and you're not going out as much. So that's kind of how you honor that part of your cycle. If you're parenting young children, this is where you can kind of have a box of toys and you can reach them on the couch, and it's okay to have baked beans on toast. You get my full permission. So while I'm kind of talking, if you can colour in the first 5 days, whatever colour you like, and I want you to write the word winter and dream somewhere creatively, wherever you like. And I'll keep talking to you about, so self-care. So it's allowing yourself to rest, slow down. And it's, like I said, eating warm foods. So there's now international sporting teams who are exercising women with their cycles quite differently. So there's international teams throughout the world who are now actually putting the cycle into their thought when it comes to how they move their body. So for us who aren't in international sporting teams, well, as far as I know, it'd be more rest and easy yoga movement and easy walking. And I also bring up cervical fluid here too, because no one ever told me about cervical fluid. And so when I experienced it, I just thought, I didn't even know what I thought. Again, it was kind of like a secret and a taboo. So in the workshops where I have young women come along from the age of 9, I tell them about their cervical fluid. So we actually start talking about it so that we can normalise it. So this is a period where it's also part of our cycle where our intuition is incredibly high, but so is our inner critic. And so what I teach the young woman is, and I'll do this is live, this is true. Like if I go like this, I go, oh my God, you're a crackhead. What are you even doing here talking to these people about this? You are such a nut bar. They think you're all such a nut bar. But then if I go like this, I'm like, oh my God, I get to talk to all these women about these cool things that are secret and taboo, and how cool is this? And then if I go here and go, oh, you're such a nut bar. People think you're a nut bar, I think you're a Fruit Loop. So I teach these young women to really learn how to tap into this area and to understand that this part of your cycle, this guy is super loud, but this part of us is super loud too. And so to really drop in and drop into this part of us and really listen to this part. And, it's called the dream phase for a reason. It's because this is where we can dream up the most amazing ideas and inspirations and solutions and projects. And because we've given ourselves that 1%, that we so deserve because we haven't created life, they come and we've given it the space. And so I started working with young women now who previously would be like, oh God, I've got my period next week, to going, yes, yes, I've got my period next week. I can take that 1%. I know the inspirations and the ideas are going to come. So I love installing that kind of that benefit and that excitement around creating space and creating. This is our superpower. This is our woman superpower that has been so stripped from us. So yeah, but there's often pain that's associated with this part of our cycle, and a bit of pain is actually normal, but lots of pain is not normal. So we've normalized pain and we've normalized heavy bleeding. So I'm always talking to them about how much they're bleeding, how much they're changing their cuts, or how much they're changing their pads or their underwear, so that we can kind of see what their normal is. There's the most phenomenal invention that came out. I don't know if anyone knows. Do you know this, Kimberly? BU patches?
Yeah, we sell them on our website.
Oh, yeah, cool. Unbelievable. It's literally chewing gum. I'm not joking. It's menthol eucalyptus.
I know, it's awesome.
I know. And I've got Sarah on here who she uses them every month and swears by them. I would have young women who 100% will be endo, and I would literally put one of these on and they were going back to class and learning. This is like the most amazing invention, and it's the coolest story. She's in the UK. She's got endometriosis. She was in a professional job with a hot water bottle or not turning up to work. She was super judged. And so she created this patch, the BU patch. And I love it because I had a BU to full workshop. So I was kind of like, when I saw it, I was like, yeah, you're mine. And she started this 2 years ago. It's now in 30 countries. It's phenomenal. It's literally chewing gum on a plaster. It's so cool. So cool. So again, pain is a message. Like I'd have young women coming into the wellness room and they'd be like, Nurse Jacqui, I've got a headache. And they knew that they actually had to sit down, and I would say, right, have a drink of water, which I'm going to have. Joe G, where's Joe G? It's your cup. And I actually I would very rarely give them any Panadol, because by the time they sat and had a glass of water, and then I'd come back to them and go, why do you think you've got a headache? And they got used to my language. They'd be like, I actually didn't sleep great last night. Oh, okay. So, or I actually haven't eaten. Or a big one was they were often vegan, and I just had illusions of grandeur that they were eating the rainbow, but they were actually eating lollies and black coffee. So it was kind of getting back down to the fundamentals of well-being, and they got really used to it. They just knew that they'd walk in and go, Nurse Jack, I've got a headache. I know I've got to sit down and have a drink of water. So they got used to it. And I just said to them, look, I'm not trying to take anything away from you. I'm trying to help you be your best healer and really tap into yourself and see what you need. Yeah. So really asking yourself why. So supplements are really important to us. We actually, because we're infill building, we're moving our soil around all the time. So there's lots of micronutrients that we don't have. So we actually we all should be on supplements. In particular, magnesium, zinc, and turmeric during if pain is an issue. And that's really easy because I share Trust by Trudy, and she has this amazing product called Wonder Woman. Even just the name's so cool. She has the Wise Woman for us, Wiser Woman, and she has the Magic Mag as well. So that's really easy. There's lots of different conditions that women really experience. There's one PMDD where they can be really quite depressive and really low mood, and that's a hormonal imbalance. and that was actually Trudy, and she went out and developed these products. So she shares the stories. She lets me share the story that she went from quite suicidal each month to developing these products and being a well-being. I put hotties on there just because I just think that's so cool. Imagine just having a hottie coming your way. But I mean hot water bottles. But we don't need them now because we've got the BU patch. And then we've got the 3 M's. I know we've got some maidens here, but usually I really go into this. And I've just done a workshop with my 16-year-old and all her friends. And I know it's super awkward, but we need to talk about it. We need to normalise this. It's an awesome serotonin creation. And it just, there's so many things we can do for ourselves that we can prevent ourselves from our moods and our well-being dropping and not having to have pharmaceuticals. So gentle exercise, so also the cat-cow, so it's a real gentle yoga cat-cow, and if you're kind of not in a position to cat-cow on your hands and knees, you can actually lean against a wall and cat-cow. And then I had an osteopath, she actually, this is her specialty, is women's health. She came and taught me how to do cupping of our uterus, and she actually did it for me. Oh my God, like she actually lifted up my uterus, like just literally just lifted it up and cradled it. And it was like, what was it like? It was like this weight. It was like a weight was taken off me. And I just said to her, oh my God, I've never spoken kindly. I've never honored that part of my body. And you've just gently lifted it up, and it felt, I don't know, it felt like a hammock, and it felt lovely. It was lovely. And I just thought, now I really just, even as I kind of transition into my second puberty, I'm kind of like, you know what, girlfriend, you've done good. So yeah, that was a massive moment for me. And then we have massage as well. I had a massage recently, and I said, actually, do you mind doing an abdomen massage for me? Which I'd never had. And she did. And I was just like, oh my gosh, I've so let that part of my body just not be honored. So yeah, anyway, let's go on to spring. So after after winter, we have spring, the no-brainer. So this is about 10 days. So the next part of your cycle, if you can colour in 10 days. And this is our do phase. So estrogen is on board, and our golden egg is starting to leave our ovaries and come down our fallopian tube. And this is where we're pretty rock and roll. So it really suits like people like me who are an extrovert. And when I'm working with young women, like I say, do you love the season, spring or summer or winter? And I get a real indication if they prefer winter, then they might find this part of their cycle quite overwhelming. Whereas for me, because I love having that big boost, I love it. But just be really aware it might not be kind of everyone's part of the season. We can really trigger people with this, because last week we were like down on our ass, and then this week we kind of got lots of energy. So people, particularly men, can kind of be like, where have you come from? Who are you? So we can have like some clashes in our relationships here. We can also easily burn out, because we're like, yay, I'm back, and we can go hard. This is something that I can easily do. But yeah, we can also feel those moments of overwhelm, particularly if we're more of an introvert type of person. So that's 10 days. So if you can write on there spring and do, and this is this is kind of the follicular phase. So this is where the egg has launched out of the ovary. And just like spring, we start to plant some seeds. You know, we put in our garden, and we're a little bit more outgoing. We might kind of be more inclined to hook up with some people. It's really normal for us to have a decrease in our appetite now. And I say that particularly to mums with young people who are cycling, because I know it can be a really challenging time watching your young people and the way that they control and around food. So just bear in mind that this is really normal for us all to have a decrease in our appetite. Our cervical fluid is non-fertile, but it's white, creamy, yellow, and tacky. But in whatever it takes, you can do. So you know how I talked about last week, taking that 1%, you can put some of that to-do list onto this week, and you're just about to drop the golden egg. This is your power week. And next we have summer. Summer's only about 3 days, so it's here for a good time, not a long time. And this is the give phase. So this is when we're ovulating. So if you colour in your next part of your phase, about 3 days. And if you write give in summer, and this is where the egg's in the womb and it's ready. It's ready for some action. So if you're dating or in a relationship, this is a good time to be like going out and partying, because you're in full go phase. And this is where we also have a little bit of testosterone. It's kind of like fighting to get your sperm. So watch out, watch out the crowds coming through. If you're parenting and you're ovulating this time, it's really good to do physical stuff and dance parties and really move your body. So you've got heaps of energy. I know for a fact I must have gone to a PTA meeting every month in give phase, because I would be like, yeah, I'll totally coach the netball team. Yeah, I'll totally be on the fair committee. Yeah, I'll totally make you a meal. And then 3 days later, I'd be just like, what have I just done? So now, because I can really tap into my body a lot, I can actually feel this part of I can feel my eggs leaving my ovaries. So I'm like, okay, you're just about in your give phase. Just boundary what you're going to say. Just be careful what you're going to say here. But it's also a cool time where you can kind of you've got a few days where you can really get some cool work going on. And so this is where you can have, if you've got any difficult conversations at work, or you have a review at work, this would be a really good time to diarise it. So when I work with more mature women, I get them to colour code their diaries around this, but also with young women who are studying. So I also get them to diarise it so that they can look at where they can get organised and get ready through their cycle. So your cervical fluid, you're obviously fertile, slippery, clear, egg white consistency, stretchy a few days before and during. So we get a little bit duped because we're actually only fertile for a small amount of time, and we're the ones that often take most of the responsibility of the contraception. So that's about 3 days. So if everyone puts summer and give on those ones. Then we just have the space. Oh my gosh, how much I wished I'd known this. And they've done studies internationally. There is millions of women, millions of people that cycle in the world who are on medication, antidepressant medication, just because of this particular space. So between our give phase and our next phase, which is take, we actually have a drop in all our hormones again. So similarly to our winter or our dream phase, and we are not going crazy. And I've put that, you're not going crazy, you're not going crazy. It's just the liminal space, and I just think if we're more empowered around this day. So for me, mine's day, where am I? Day 20, irritable. So yeah, I just think this is something we should have all super known about. And then of course the last phase is autumn. So last season, autumn. So colour in the rest of your cycle for that. Are you? And this is our take phase. So this is where, you know, we've dropped all our hormones again. So we've said goodbye to testosterone, we've said goodbye to estrogen, and now we're saying hi to progesterone. So remember, progesterone was kind of took us into easy lane, and it was kind of more of our nesting, decluttering hormone. And this is where, because it wants to hold on to that baby, wants to hold on to that fertilized egg. And so we often, our appetite increases, we often get a little bit more rounder and a bit more plumper, which scientifically makes sense as well, because we're gearing up to feed a potential baby. So it all kind of makes sense. Whereas we all, society has kind of led us to believe that we're in Shark Week and we're premenstrual and we're grumpy, but we've just kind of come from summer and from high energy to having this real change, real switch. So we've gone from a real flow into a real ebb. And we have to let go of our fear of missing out and really embrace our joy of missing out. And I think if I'd known this, I would have leant into it and honoured it so much more, whereas I fought it. I was always a fighter. I was always like, again, this is where our inner critic gets really high, but our intuition is super high as well. So again, we're not going crazy. And so the more I work with women and share this part of the cycle, is that they actually really look forward to it, because we can kind of slow down. And particularly if you're more of an introvert, this is your favorite part of the cycle as well. If you're not really into the full-on people noise and all go. So if you write autumn, I know autumn's always tricky to spell in the take phase. And so we're non-fertile, our cervical fluid's non-fertile. This is where I tell the young women it's totally cool to eat chocolate. And this is where we talk about what things our bliss list. So for example, I always tell people that my clean sheet night is like one of my favorite nights. It's tonight. I've done it today, so it's tonight. And I prefer not to do it when I'm ovulating, because I tend to want to have some action and I don't want to do that on my clean sheet. So it's good to do it in autumn in the take phase. And this is really cool to know, is like when you're in the take phase, find someone who's in their give phase, and then promise them that when you're in your give phase, that you'll give back to them. So it's a really nice way, kind of a really cool way of giving back to one another. And it might just be like, if you've got kids, it might be like, can you have the kids, or can you do a meal this month? I'll do a meal, in 2 weeks' time. So there's some real reciprocation that can be done with our cycle. Yeah. And so then these are just like the cool things that I love about balancing our cycle. It's actually not that hard. There's some really easy ways to do it with food and seeds. And I can share this all with you. So that's all good. Tracking your cycles. So I know there's lots of apps out there. I'm not a really big fan of the app, because I feel like they're more helping you with the absence and the presence of your cycle. Whereas I feel like if you kind of go hard copy, not only are you kind of getting that out of the brain into your hand tool, but you can more visualize it. And we're not aiming for perfection, we're just aiming for awareness. And I think it's quite good to work out when you do ovulate, because we do menstruate 14 days after we ovulate, so that's quite helpful. But make it a real ritual, like cool journal and cup of tea, and get your oils and your candles, and do it with your maidens even, and get them into it. And just like I did, I was just putting one word, but you can draw pictures, notice the moon, and highlight those parts of your journal, and just pay attention to your energy, and maximize the easy days. And just save up some energy for when you do, as the cycle goes through. And I love this: divide your wardrobe into phases. So comfy for dream, and active for do, and fancy for give, and dramatic for take. And then what you can do is then condense your cycle tracking on top of one another. And I promise you see a pattern. And you're just like, why didn't anyone ever tell me this? So these are some of the apps that, so lots of the young women use Flow and Clue. And then rites of passage. So that's not just for our maidens, that's for us who are doing second puberty. I give you full permission to find a rite of passage. And mine has always been that I was going to go to New York. So hopefully I can still do that. But buy yourself a piece of jewelry, full permission. But with the girls, it's so cool with the young women, and they totally get into it, 100% get into it. Like, I've had girls who've had parties next to like rivers, and all the aunties and mums and cousins have all painted rocks for them and written notes, and they've really been cherished and nourished and celebrated. And you can tell the difference between the young people who have had that celebration to the young people who have kind of just possibly like us, who have just kind of had to crack on. So yeah, and I've put so for my young woman, I got their auntie to write them notes, and I wrote them a note, and my mum wrote them a note. But you can send them to a Nurse Jacqui workshop. You can give them a blossom box, or Crystal, we could get one of yours. Yeah. So yeah, that is me, and that's where you can find me. I'm EAP funded, Oranga Tamariki vendor, and I'm just about to become a Gumboot Friday provider as well. But I just thought, seeing as we've got a vagina genius in the room, I would invite her to talk to her about some stuff as well. Do you want me to stop?
Well, yes, I'm happy to talk. Just whatever. Ask questions. Jacqui is a complete genius on the whole uterus and the ovaries and everything. One of the things that fascinated me when I started learning about the inside of our amazing bodies is that our ovaries are actually not connected at all to our fallopian tubes, and that is something that completely blew me away. And that the ovaries sit there like two beautiful moons in the sky, and they release the egg from the ovary, and it floats out into space like a comet, and the fimbriae from the fallopian tube is waving around like seaweed, going, come to me, and it catches the egg and it draws it into the fallopian tube. And that is the thing that fascinated me the most about learning about the inside of my body, is that it wasn't all just a kind of a triangle with these things in it. The ovaries were actually like two beautiful moons, and they, like you say, held the golden eggs, and they're caught magically by our fallopian tubes, which is incredible. But Jacqui is an absolute, you've just presented that beautifully. Thank you so much. I've learned things myself, or ways to explain things a little bit better. But if anyone's got any questions about your vagina or your cervix, or I have a wee bit more.
Have you got your one there to show us? Not your one.
Yes, yes, I can. So here's my vagina. I've got a cup in it at the moment. Here's my vagina. The most amazing thing that Jacqui pointed out was that we're all so different. And this is something that comes up every day for me. We talk on the phone all the time to people about their vaginas, like literally all day we talk to people. And the thing that amazes me is that everybody's so different. So, and you pointed that out, Jacqui, is that not one size fits all. Our vagina moves with our body, or everything down there moves with our body. If we're doing yoga, we're hanging upside down, we're swimming, it changes shape. And I call the vagina a potential space, because it's got this incredible ability to do all these amazing things. And it's been such a taboo thing for such a long time, the vagina. Like, you know, everyone, even when people ring us on the phone, it's hilarious. They go to say it and they can't even say the word, and I go, come on, just say it, empower yourself, just say the word vagina. That it's a potential space. So, and what goes into it and what comes out of it is incredible. So it can accommodate a baby's head. It can hold a menstrual cup inside of it all day. It can, it's just amazing. So who has got some questions about their vagina that they would like answered?
Yeah, I'd love to see the cup. I'd love to see the cup go into your vagina, not your vagina. But
okay, so I've got two models. I've got I don't know if anyone's seen the O Cube before. So the O Cube is a little demonstration model that doesn't look too scary like that, which looks like the inside of our body. And it just shows you how the menstrual cup sits inside the vagina. It just sits there collecting fluids. So the cervix would be here, and then the blood comes down and just collects into the menstrual cup like that. But in the menstrual cup sits, it's not true to size, this vagina, but it just sits. So you're kind of like that. So that's your bladder there. There's a lot of people, when I teach kids in schools, the kids often don't know that they've got 3 holes. We don't usually say the word hole, but I'll just say it tonight. So they've got this 3 holes. There's the there's a hole. So there's the bladder, and there's your urethra that runs down here. Now, something really interesting that we talk about a lot with menstrual cups is that when we have a baby, or as we get older and we lose the collagen in our skin, so especially through menopause, we can have a slight prolapse in either this wall or this wall here. And magically, a menstrual cup like this one, got a big pile of cups over here. This one can sit inside your vagina, and instead of getting that light bladder leakage that you get, you can put a menstrual cup inside your body, and it puts some pressure on this wall to stop.
Oh my God, what?
See, you didn't know that one, did you, Jacqui? So I had someone come into the shop today, and we talked exactly about that. So we're just trying to find her a cup that will comfortably sit without too much pressure. Put a little bit of pressure on that wall here to stop pee-pee coming out of her urethra when she does her high activity running and walking and stuff, because she's sick to death of that feeling of having to wear pads and period underwear just for her bladder leakage. So we're just working on that at the moment to help with so, you know, if, and the same for this wall here, a menstrual cup can actually help and assist without having to go to some fancy, having a pessary put in or anything. You can actually manage a slight prolapse with a menstrual cup. So so that's how it sits in there like that. And then there's your uterus. So, and the other thing that people don't realize either is that your uterus is just the size of a small pear. So it's only little, and it actually gets really, really big when you have a baby, but it's actually only little. Some of us think that we're completely bleeding to death when we have our periods, like that we're just completely dying. Where is it all coming from? But it's actually just coming from a very small space here. And yeah, that's something that people don't realize. And then there's this wall here as well. That's the other wall that's affected by a slight prolapse as well, which is this wall here. And what happens with this wall, with this wall here, it's a bladder prolapse, where you get your bladder leakage. And this wall here, this part here actually starts turning into here. So when you go for a poo, it actually kind of gets stuck. It doesn't poke through the wall, but you kind of, that's a slight prolapse on the back wall of the vagina. Anyone got any questions they would like to ask? Yes, Michelle.
So with those cups, like, you know how they say that you can't feel tampons, I truly can, right? They don't sit comfortably in my body at all, especially after I had Caitlin. I think everything up there's a bit like fucked up. So
maidens, don't forget these maidens.
Oh, sorry, maidens.
That's all right, Michelle. But you can, but you do know that it's incorrect that you can't feel tampons.
Right.
Tampons are incredibly uncomfortable for some people. Yeah. And do you want to know why?
Yeah, I really do.
Okay, you want the tampon story. Okay, so I'll give you a super tampon for an example. So a super tampon absorbs about 14 mils of fluid, okay? Now, the most interesting, so a tampon is designed to be like a super, super vacuum cleaner. It's designed to be like that. Like, you know, when you drop one into a glass of water and it goes like that, well, that's what it's doing inside your vagina. And what it does is a tampon will actually, it absorbs 14 mils of fluid, but about 4 or 5 mils of that fluid is from your vagina wall. So your vagina wall produces this beautiful fluid. It's like I always say it's like the inside of your mouth. Okay, it's like the same mucosal membrane, except the difference between the vaginal wall and your mouth has got its own defense system. So if you cut if you bite, you bite the side of your face and it hurts and it heals really quickly because we've got this incredible defense system underneath our skin. Now in the vagina we don't have that. There is no defense system. If you cut the side of your vagina or you graze it with a tampon, it's a direct route to your bloodstream for any infection. There's no defense system inside your vagina. That's why people get infections in their vagina really easily, because they don't know all this stuff. Why we need to learn, like we all need to learn about, we know how to brush our teeth. Our vagina is the same as our mouth, it just doesn't have any teeth in it. I wish mine bloody did, I tell you. Anyway, so we'll get back to the tampon part. So a super tampon absorbs about 14 mils of fluid, and 4 or 5 mils of that is your vaginal fluid. So what it's doing is it's actually removing your precious fluid that your body is producing to protect itself. So your vagina is like, I call it a self-cleaner. It cleans itself every day, all day. So that beautiful fluid, I teach my daughters, that fluid that comes out of your body, it's not icky. I always brought up to believe it was icky, and what was the stuff that was coming out of my body and making my undies sticky, but actually it's like the saliva in your mouth, and it's got to go somewhere. And what it's doing when it comes out is it's cleaning your vagina. So when it comes out of your body and it's clear and it doesn't smell and your vagina is doing what it's meant to do, it's cleaning itself. But the tampon takes that out of your vagina. So people often you hear of people that often get thrush after they get their period. And it's because all of that beautiful fluid that's there to actually protect your vagina and keep it healthy is being removed for 7 days of your period. And it's sucking on the walls of your vagina and removing it even faster. So that kind of dragging feeling on about day 4 or 5 of your period when you take a tampon out and it feels like, ooh, like that, you'd pull it out and it's really dry and you almost like feel sick because it's gross. Well, it's because that tampon is actually stuck to the walls of your vagina. It's like that. I know I make it really dramatic, but so only 9 mils of that fluid from your period is being absorbed into that tampon. The rest of it is from the walls of your vagina. And that's why that's why it's painful using tampons. I hated them when I used them. I used them for, I don't know, 25 years or however long it was before I discovered a menstrual cup. And a menstrual cup doesn't absorb like a tampon. And that's why tampons hurt. So that's the long version.
But you're not supposed to be able to feel them while they're not doing anything, right? But I can.
No, but you can. You do feel them while they're not doing anything because they're still. There's no off switch with a tampon. No. You stick a tampon and okay, I'll give you an example, and none of you try this at home because you'll die. Stick a tampon in your mouth and tell me that it's not sucking on the walls of your cheeks. Stick one on the inside of your mouth there. I've never tried it before, but I can imagine it would be feral. Right. So that tampon does not have an off button. So it's going to sit there and it's going to suck and suck and suck and suck until all the saliva is out of your mouth. And then it's going to continue to do so. And then when you go to take it out, it's going to take the epithelial layer off the inside of your mouth. So that's the information you don't get. We're not allowed to publicly talk about tampons like that because the tampon companies just go mental about it. So when we do posts about tampons, and we basically have to be really careful about what we say because we can be censored and closed down, and because we're what do you call it? We're
bound.
We're just not. There's lots of situations where people have been shut down because they're actually when we're marketing menstrual cups, we're not allowed to talk about tampons in that way, basically, because we're putting down their products. But somebody menstrual been around since the 1930s, so I wouldn't be surprised if it was a man that created tampons and pads because somebody wanted to make a lot of money out of us from those years, because I don't think we would do that ourselves.
And so can you feel the cup inside the same as you can feel a tampon inside?
No. That's why I'm
so about feeling your cervix, and that there's a video that I share with everyone, and it's you can actually feel where your cervix sits. So then you actually put your cup in the angle, in the right angle. So to have a comfortable, you're talking about menstrual cups being comfy. They're super comfy if you get the right one. But in order to get a really uncomfortable cup, so everybody's cervix. So there's your, it's a really rough model of a cervix, but there's your cervix there. So when you before you buy a menstrual cup, if you're interested in it, you really need to, so during your period, you only do this during your period because you will only use a menstrual cup during your period. So you need to know where your cervix is. So you put your finger, whichever finger you choose, inside your vagina, and you feel for that little dog's nose. It's like a little hard, wet dog's nose inside your vagina. Now, some people find it really hard to find because they have a tilted uterus, which means their uterus is tipped backwards or to the side or to the front, and they can't quite feel it. So people often ask that question, can you use a cup with a tilted uterus? Yes, you can, but you need to aim your menstrual cup towards your tilted uterus for it to collect the fluid effectively. So you really need to know the inside of your body, what that cervix feels like. You need to measure it with a ruler, and then you ring us and we will find a cup that will suit your body type. Because often cup companies say under 25s have this size and over 20 that size, but actually it's nothing to do. And if you've had a baby, you have this size, it's nothing to do with that, because everybody's bodies are different, like Jacqui was saying.
not one size fits all. And we often have people that have just bought a cup based on the company saying that, but you need to check your cervix height. You need to, we need to know whether you use, what size tampons you use, because that's a really good indication of what sort of width of cup. And you really need to get to know the inside of your body before you use a menstrual cup, because you actually have to push it in. You have to know what's going on in there to be able to get one in. So anybody got any other questions? Yes.
Hi. You've kind of eased my mind a little bit, but I've always been a bit terrified to use a cup. I currently use the period undies, but they're not as great on heavier days. I was that person that got thrush when I use a tampon. So yeah, I mean, I've heard horror stories of not being able to get it out, or like, what if it goes too far up or something? Are you able to just ease my mind a little bit more that might not happen?
Okay, so the thing about your vagina is it's a dead end. It's like a cul-de-sac. Okay.
Yeah.
The only way that a cup would get stuck is if you've got a really high cervix and you haven't got the length on your stem. So there's different heights of stems, you see. So that's a teen cup, by the way, so it is quite small, but this cup's got a really nice long stem, so you can actually easily reach it if you've got a higher cervix, but it can't go anywhere. I mean, and to be honest with you, I like you said, period underwear is amazing, but it does have limitations if you've got a heavy period. So using a cup on your heavy days, and then once you peter off into your lighter days, just use the period underwear is fantastic, because if you're a gusher, period underwear is really, it can be limiting as well.
Did you really just say gush?
Yeah. Yashy. Yeah, so there are some people that completely there are different, that's the other thing too, you've got to know your flow before you choose your products, any products. People think they know their flow, people will ring me up and go, oh my God, Kimberly, I've got the heaviest period in the world, it's insane, it's blah blah blah, and then they go and use a cup, and in the first 8 hours their cup's filled up to here, because they actually thought that they had this really, really heavy period, but actually they only lost about that much blood, because in a cup you can actually see how much you lose, and they go, actually I don't have a heavy period at all, it just feels like I'm bleeding to death.
So is it similar to a tampon and you just pull it out, or do you have to squeeze it or something? How does it
what you
work?
do, I'll show you with a coloured cup because it's easier to see, I think. I'll show you with this nice bright pink cup. So when you fold a cup, we use the punch down fold as our go-to, and what you do is you just fold it up into what looks like a tampon, you see, and then you slide it. So I just use my fingers, and you slide it inside your vagina like that, and then it just goes whoop, like that, and you just push it up, and then it's done. Done. And it just sits inside your vagina like that, because you've got these beautiful muscles at the entrance of your vagina, and it just sits inside there. You can push it up a bit further if you like, but it just sits inside there. And when you go to take it out, you slide your finger up the side of the cup, you push it in to break the seal, and you pull it out like that. Because remember, your vagina is a potential space. So that actually, if you think about what goes into your vagina, sometimes, or all the time, or whatever, I don't know, whatever goes into your vagina or comes out of it, this is nothing compared to that. This is soft. This will move. This is medical grade silicone. It will move with your body. So if you are lying down, it will go like that. If you are doing something else, it'll go like that, or it will bend.
You have to be doing
it just moves with your body, which is amazing, and that's what you want. You want something to move with your body, and it warms with your body. You don't feel it when it's inside. It's amazing. And there's so many different types of cups for different, we have as many as we can to cater for all body types, but we've got menstrual discs for people with really low cervix, so that's a really cool Yeah, that's a menstrual disc. There's another menstrual disc. So they're a little bit like diaphragms. Has anybody used a diaphragm in their deep, dark past? Yeah, it's very similar to a diaphragm. So if you've used a diaphragm before, these are quite amazing. Then you've got little tiny cups for low cervix and teens. So this is more of kind of a teen. This is very small, tiny.
I can believe, I get the young woman to practice when they don't have their period.
Yes. So the best time to practice with a cup is in the shower, because I reckon that it's nice and warm and slippery and you kind of feel relaxed. And you can get a bit of lube if you want to, just to practice for the first time, getting it in and out. And what I suggest is that you put it in, you start your shower, you put it in, if you can get it in for the first time, and then you just wash yourself and do your hair and everything, and then just take it out. And then the next time you get in the shower, you put it in, you wash your hair or do whatever you need to do, and then you get out of the shower and you're going to have a cup of coffee. And then if you feel comfortable, leave it in for an hour or so, but then just do it that way so that you get used to using it until you get your period. Because you can use a cup anytime. It's not going to do anything to your body except it will collect your vaginal fluid. So one of the most interesting things about using a cup is that when you do have your period, you often see the blood, and then you'll see a clear layer on top of the cup, and that's your vaginal fluid that's just being collected in the cup. All the blood separates. You see different colors, textures. You get a clot. You might have a clot going in there.
And Kimberly, is it true that you can actually reduce your bleeding days by wearing a cup compared to a tampon?
Yes. So the menstrual cup creates a suction inside your vagina. So I always sort of demonstrate it like this, like when it's inside your vagina like that, like it's in there, and I'm just putting very light pressure on that. You cannot pull it out without breaking the seal first and then pulling it out. So it's actually got a slight suction in there, and what it does is it draws the blood down from your cervix a lot faster. Some people find that their period is reduced by sometimes up to 2 days because it draws the blood down into the cup a lot faster because the tampon's just sitting there absorbing whatever comes out, but the cup actually is creating a little bit of a suction, and it actually draws it down faster into the cup. Yeah, Jacqui, that's right. Any more questions?
I do have one more question about, and Jacqui, you might be able to answer this, but when you have your period and I don't know, you get to about day 2, like after the first heaviest day, and it honestly feels like there is weights in the bottom of your vagina. What the hell is it? What causes that? Like I know anatomy and physiology, and I can't nut it out.
I think it's what, in your vagina or in your uterus? Which part is heavy?
It's not in my uterus. It honestly feels like there's lead weights coming out.
I know that feeling. It's kind of like
it's the uterus. So what happens before you get your period? Well, this is how I would explain it. Before you get your period, your body releases hormones into your body that relaxes the uterus. So the uterus starts to kind of contract. The hormones come in, the uterus starts to contract. It drops the cervix down into your vagina a bit lower, and the cervix opens. So that's how it works. It relaxes, it drops the cervix down into the vagina, and the os, it's called the os, which is the cervix, opens and allows the blood to come out. And often that can feel, so sometimes people will use a very small cup on day 1 to 2 because the cervix is so low in the vagina. And then after day 3, 4, and 5, the uterus starts to lift the cervix up again, nice and flat, ready for the next stage of the season.
Okay, that
does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
Yeah.
Honestly, the temptation to walk around holding it up is strong.
Yeah, it's just your cervix. It's just your cervix sitting lower, so you would have felt that weight.
That's where you could probably do the cupping as well of your. Yeah. Oh my gosh, it was like Fantasy Island. It was like, what? That's so nice. But they've actually put probes. I don't know which woman did this, but they've put probes inside a uterus and measured what it is when it's actually doing that. And it's the equivalent of, when you've got a blood pressure cuff on and you get that first blip, which is about 120. That's the equivalent of the average uterus when it's contracting. So I've seen memes. I don't know, Kimberly, how true it is, but they equate it to someone having a heart attack, and I'm kind of like, what? We do that 450 times.
Yeah, and some people feel it quite significantly. That can be quite painful for some people because they, different pain thresholds.
Guy has a question here.
She
doesn't want to say no. Go on.
No,
She's been waiting.
You said.
Sky would like to know how you can tell you have a tilted uterus.
Well, often, so when you're older, you might find that, so you would definitely find out if you were going to have a baby, because your midwife would find that out when you were going to have a baby. They would see that your uterus is tilted. If you were having a cervical smear, which is something that you start having in your 20s, your doctor would be able to see whether because they would need to find your uterus to check it. And they would see that some people, so when you're looking inside the vagina, like if you were looking up into the vagina, I can't use my nose, but your cervix would just look like a little pink dot right at the top. Now, if your uterus was tilted, the doctor might not be able to see it. It might be down. Is that right? That would be right, isn't it? That's the only way I can explain it. You can't see it, so you'd have to lie in a certain position so that the cervix could be viewed. Because it might be sitting like that instead of like that.
So all my smears, I have to put my hand under my backside and tilt, and so my 11-pound babies would never have come out of mine because it wasn't
in the wrong direction. So you don't find out until you're older whether you've got a tilted uterus, and it's no biggie. It's just that your design is different than somebody else's.
Nothing wrong with you.
No.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's all right.
Nice to see you, Jo. What's your daughter's name, Jo?
My name's Sky.
Oh, you're Sky. Hi, darling.
Hello.
You're quite famous, aren't you?
I
You've been the reason that this has been created.
It's very, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a legacy, my darling.
I have a question.
Go, Leanne.
My American friends, there's this, I'm assuming it's a fad, I'm not sure, this vaginal or vaginal steaming. What the heck is that about?
Do you want an hour? Don't touch your vagina. Your vagina, I think I just said to you before, it cleans itself. You start putting anything inside your vagina. Even our menstrual cup wash that we have, which is completely vegan, it's made from saponified coconut oil, it's completely neutral. I would never recommend that anybody would even put that inside their vagina. Your vagina should look after itself.
It's an external thing, apparently. You sit over on the equivalent of a toilet that's steaming, and it just steams your vagina, and I'm guessing it's a fad. It sounds very strange.
It's a wee bit. I've just done a lot of reading on that sort of thing, and it's just, your vagina is meant to be, that's what it's for. It cleans itself. It doesn't need to be steamed or douched or anything, and nothing needs to be washed inside there, or that fluid that comes out every day is actually your body telling you that it's doing its job. Is that right, Jacqui? Do you agree with me?
Totally agree, yeah. Don't glute my girls.
Any other questions?
Hi. Thanks so much, Kimberly and Jacqui. This has been really awesome. I'm a pelvic floor physio, so I feel like I just want to just say one little thing, if I can, just about stress urinary continence and using a moon cup. Like I think moon cups are great, by the way, and I would really like to chat to you, Kimberly, about some of your moon cups for smaller cervixes. But just if you do have leakage, a moon cup could probably be used to help a little bit. But I would definitely advise seeing a pelvic floor physio before you try to use that as your ongoing treatment, just because in some cases you could potentially make the symptoms much worse. Sometimes women have like a tone issue with their pelvic floor muscles, and in those cases, sometimes moon cups aren't ideal because they can create something to grip against and make make some of those problems a little bit worse. So I just wanted to just reach out and just add that little piece. But and the other thing, I can't remember who was talking about it during your period and feeling that sensation of heaviness. Our uterus is at its heaviest when it's got all the bedding and everything in there ready to come out. And so sometimes if you have had a few children, you may just have a little slight prolapse, and prolapse is a scary word, and I don't want to say prolapse out there and be like, you've got a prolapse, but if you've got a really heavy uterus and the laxity of your vaginal wall is a little bit soft, then that heaviness that you're feeling could actually just be that your uterus is just dragging a little bit. So things like lying down and putting your feet up the wall, which some people don't like to do when you've got your period, but if you're feeling that heaviness, that sort of thing can actually be quite helpful in reducing the heaviness, or like you say, cupping your hands up. Lifting your uterus is fantastic, Jacqui, but just basically getting your body weight off your legs and just elevating in some way can be really helpful for those heavy moments. But I've really valued today, Jacqui. It's been awesome.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
It's interesting, like talking about students that I worked with who were gender diverse. So obviously having a period really reminded them that they weren't in their right body. And you could see, and even us, because society has told us to be tight and have a, tight, flat stomach. So we're always kind of like this. And so I was finding, just intuitively saying to them, let's just let it out. Let's just go like this. And even with the young people who were trying to fight the fact that they were having their period, I'd be like, you're totally safe here. Just be you. Just like, it's just, and you could just see straight away that the relaxation and that reduction in pain and the reduction in that kind of fighting as well. Poor darlings.
No, I totally agree with you, Wendy, about the we talk about pelvic floor physios all the time. So anyone that comes in that would ask me something like that, we always say, have you been to see a pelvic floor physio? Because it's so important to get your body right before you do anything. And you would never use a menstrual cup on somebody who had something really weak, because it can actually block the urethra and cause a bladder infection. So you've just got to be really careful with using a cup for that reason. Have you had any experience with the cubes? The cubes for prolapse?
Me?
Yep, Wendy. Yep.
Yeah. I mean, I don't fit pessaries myself, but I do refer out for them. And I mean, there's just like what you ladies have been saying, everyone's slightly different in shape and size and everything, and there's generally something for everyone. But I've had a few clients that have been having quite a lot of success with cubes. Yeah.
Okay. All right. That's good to hear. Yeah. Okay. That's awesome. It's great that you're here.
I know, so good.
Yeah, no, really good. All this specialized people, it's awesome. Yeah, and it's a really good, it's a really important part of this actually. Pelvic floor physios are really shining at the moment and coming into their light, I think.
I just get really excited whenever I see anything like this, because I just think the more we all talk about periods and leakage and prolapse and childbirth and all these things that no one really ever has talked about, it just opens the door to talk about so much more, and it's really fantastic. It's an awesome space.
Where do you work, Wendy?
I'm in Mount Albert.
Oh, we've got a pelvic floor physio. I'm in Point Chev.
Oh, right, yeah.
Yeah, we've got what's her name? She works at North Shore. She's the pelvic floor physio as well.
Okay.
Yeah, you'll know her, I'm sure.
We all know each other.
Yeah.
It's a small world.
No, so I think it's a great profession. And the other thing is too is that prolapse is so like you were saying, it's so under talked about. And I have a relationship with one of the big gynaes at the Christchurch Women's, and even she said at our last talk that we did this talk on menopause to a whole lot of women, and she was saying that most people that have had a baby have got a slight prolapse. You know, it's not a bad word. People think, oh my God, my vagina is going to fall out, but actually it's just a weakening of a wall. You know, I mean, it really, we need to do the work. Like they say, you need to do the work afterwards, and there's special things that you can do to tighten that whole area, and it's so worthwhile doing. I mean, your services are so valuable now to people. We never had that. I never had that when I had my babies. I think we're really lucky now.
Wendy, are you also seeing trauma, like
not so much, to be honest. Most of my a little bit, but I'm working in private practice, and most of my clients are postnatal or menopausal, pre-post, all avenues of life. Actually, I kind of get everywhere.
That's the golden door. That is the golden door.
Sorry. Okay. Yeah. I do think it's something that most women should look at, like, because I see women sometimes and they're like, oh, I've been dealing with a little bit of leakage or something for 2 or 3 years, and just kind of been dismissive of it as being a normal part of having had children. And then they come in and they're like, I think I'm postnatal. And it's like, well, you're always postnatal if you had children.
God, dear.
Yeah.
Cool. Any other questions? So any other questions? Oh, where's jumping?
I have another one. I've got an IUD now, but I used to use a cup, which was phenomenal, doing 12-hour shifts on the ambulance. You don't have to deal with it for such a long period of time. Yay. But the getting it in and getting it out, for me, I felt like a plumber. It was not elegant. It was quite involved compared to the insertion of a tampon. Is it supposed to get easier over time, or could it be just that I had the wrong size cup?
Well, you should be able to. Have you got a high cervix, or have you got a medium? Do you know where your cervix is? Because if you've got a high cervix, it can be a bit fiddly getting your cup out, because you've actually, the stem, there's a misconception around the stem. So I'll just use this one. People think that the stem is designed, you're meant to pull on the stem to get your cup out. Yeah, no. And actually you can actually cause a prolapse of your cervix by doing that if you pull it, because the suction in there is incredible. Yes. So you either pinch the base of the cup, you put your fingers inside your vagina and pinch the base of the cup to break the seal. And if your cup's really high in your vagina, it's really hard to get your finger up the side of the cup to break the seal and pull it out. Is that the trouble that you're having?
That's the one. And
okay.
It feels like it's a long way in. And it's not like not that you'd ever have someone watching you do it, but it just seems so much more like a yoga move than, yeah.
Well, it's quite hands-on taking your cup in and out. So I think that's quite normal. Cool. But I think that you probably need a cup with a longer stem that you can negotiate your cup down a little bit so that you can pinch the bottom and pull it out. Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
then
it's like writing. Yeah,
Cup,
you just
and
get
you put your menstrual fluid in the pot plant.
The pot plant, really?
Yeah.
yes.
The
Yes,
things
you
you
do.
learn.
Yes, you do. So it's only 13, well, 11 to 13% blood. The rest of it's like hormones and it's we all think it's kind of and dirty, but we go and buy blood and bone from the garden centre. We've got it. Got it in us. And it's the layers of us that we've built up over the month, you know. It's the good times and it's the ebbs and the flows that we've had. So get it in your pot plant. So any other questions?
Hi
Bumbling.
Hello. That was really, really interesting, thank you. I'm also a physio as well, and I work with children with physical disabilities. So any like discussions around increase in awareness, especially for men, as some people may grow up to have male carers. Yeah, it's just great to increase awareness. Yeah, really on board with all of what you're talking about. So thank you.
Thank you. And you do something else as well, though, don't you? Have you got some period wear?
Yeah, so I do sell period underwear, sourced from overseas with organic cotton and bamboo, with the carbon footprint offset, and I donate profits to Trees That Count. So that's just my like little side passion.
Awesome.
Oh, I love that. So like I'm affiliated with quite a few people, and I'm really discerning about who I work with. So and there's some, Kimberly and I will agree on this, there's some who have come from a good heart and others that don't. So it's a good one to be, a good area to be discerning with. Kimberly.
Yeah. What's your brand that you're selling? I'm interested to hear about it.
Yeah.
Just briefly. What's your brand?
The brand is Bumbling, and the style that I designed are just for the heavier flow days at the moment. So one style is a plain black underwear, and the second style has some lacing on the front for when you still want to feel a bit fabulous on those days. But yeah, they're all designed to go right up the back and be suitable to wear during the day or night.
So I've got a friend who's a wheelchair user. Would they be good for her because she's finding the hours not high enough?
Yeah, these go right to the top of the waistband. Okay. So if you're lying down or you're doing any yoga or bridging exercises, then as you lift up, there won't be any leakage.
Oh, cool.
So what's your website?
Bumbling.co.nz.
Okay, because I've just been looking for it and I couldn't find it.
So it's really new.
There you are.
Any
I can see you now.
is appreciated.
I'd really like to. We do a lot of product testing, so with people, and I'm going to get in contact with you because I would love to promote your brand to people. That's kind of what we do. So we can help you get your brand out to the right people. So I'd like to help you do that.
Sounds amazing.
Yeah.
It'd be good to hook you up too with Crystal Black too, Kimberly.
Yeah. Okay. Crystal. I'm writing this down. Bumbling and Crystal Black.
Yeah.
because I think it's a strange industry, and I think that there's some brands that are just not doing what the underwear's not doing what it says it should do, and I'm really interested in underwear that's doing what it says it should do. And I'm particularly interested in brands that go right up the front from waistband to backband, because it means that if you're a front sleeper, when you're sleeping, you can sleep with them. It's all that sort of thing. And also for girls,
definitely, I'm a front sleeper, and I wear it at night.
And there's some people that only bleed out the front, so they don't even bleed. Like there's all this stuff about, some people just bleed out the front. They don't even bleed down. So if they're not wearing a tampon or a cup, they just squirting out the front. Some of the period underwear doesn't. They buy 8 pairs, and then they realize that they can't actually use them because they're squirting out the front like a tap. So sorry. So the brand, so any brand that has a
gush.
I know, the gush and everything. I know. Anyway, I think it's fantastic that you've done that, because it's something that we need, and only few brands have actually done it well, because maybe they're not a front bleeder and they don't understand how frustrating that can be. Because some of the women have to wear a pad right at the front of their body because that's so so that's awesome. I'm going to be in touch with you. What's your name? Sorry.
That'd be lovely.
What?
Melissa.
That's what you said at the beginning. I just forgot. Melissa. Okay, cool. Thank you, Melissa. That was really nice to hear from you. Thank you.
Right, okay, we're on time. It's 9:31. Let's do this. So we've lost a few, but oh my God, thanks so much. How cool was that?
Very cool, Jacqui. Very cool.
Very cool. So thanks everybody. It's always nice to do these things not alone. And I'm going to send you a follow-up email with the information so that we can really ground this and really make it land, because I think there was 18 of us. If we can all throw out a starfish, there'll be 36, and they can throw out a starfish, and we can we can do better for our maidens. So leave my red tent and go forth as an empowered menstrual cycle awareness people.
Thank you everyone for having me. I really appreciate it. And thank you, Jacqui, for having me. I really enjoyed it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jacqui. That was beautiful. Amazing.
That was amazing. Yeah, thank you.
Everybody, thanks. Bye.
Thank you so
much.
Bye.